Ollie the Owl Learns to Fly, a soft, heartwarming story for winding down gently. Are you snuggled in, little one? Let me tell you a quiet little story about a forest, a young owl, and a night full of stars. There once was a little owl named Ollie who lived in a tall, twisting oak tree at the very heart of a peaceful forest. The tree was ancient, so old that its branches creaked gently in the breeze like it was humming a lullaby. High up in one of those strong branches was Ollie's nest, lined with soft feathers and moss, where he lived with his mama owl. Ollie had wide, curious eyes the color of moonlight and feathers as soft as dandelion fluff. But even though he was growing bigger, there was one thing he hadn't done yet. Not even once. He hadn't learned to fly. The other young owls had already taken to the skies, flapping and gliding through the trees like leaves on the wind. They swooped and soared, their wings catching moonlight as they darted past the stars. But not Ollie. Ollie liked the feel of the branch beneath his claws. He liked how steady it was. He liked looking at the world from high above without having to leave his cozy spot. "Maybe tomorrow," he would whisper each night. And Mama Owl never rushed him. She would wrap a soft wing around him and say, "When you're ready, little feather, the sky will still be there." But tonight felt different. The forest was wrapped in silver mist, and the stars were twinkling just a little more brightly than usual. Far below, the trees swayed like they were waiting for something. A quiet hush had fallen over the woods, as though the world itself was holding its breath. Ollie perched on the edge of the nest, his heart fluttering like a leaf in the wind. "What if I fall?" he whispered. Mama Owl tilted her head and smiled gently. "What if you fly?" Ollie blinked. "What if the wind lifts you like a song?" she said softly. "What if the sky is waiting for your wings?" He looked out at the forest. It looked so big, so wide, so full of stars. He looked at his wings. They were small, but they were strong. And they had been ready for a while now, just waiting for him to believe it. So Ollie took a deep breath, the kind of breath that fills your whole chest with warmth and bravery. Then, with Mama watching gently from behind, Ollie stepped to the edge of the branch and jumped. The wind caught him right away. It wasn't scary, not like he thought it would be. It was soft, like being carried in a hug made of clouds. He flapped his wings, slow and unsure at first. But with each flap, he grew more certain. Higher, higher. He floated like a feather. He glided like a dream. He twirled under the stars and dipped between branches like he'd been doing it forever. "Oh!" Ollie chirped in wonder. "I'm flying!" The trees below swayed gently. The moon winked down at him. And from her branch, Mama Owl called out, "You're doing beautifully, my little flyer." But just as he began to soar higher, something unexpected happened. A breeze turned into a gust, then another. A storm was rolling in, not loud or wild, but full of quiet power. The clouds covered the stars, and the silver mist turned thick and swirling. The trees blurred below him. The sky lost its shape. Ollie's wings began to wobble. "I can't see," he called out. The wind didn't answer. It just kept blowing softly like a whisper that had lost its way. Ollie flapped harder, trying to find his way back to the oak tree. But every branch looked the same. Every tree, just another shadow. His brave heart began to feel small again. He landed gently on a crooked birch branch and tucked his wings in tight. The cold mist curled around him, and for a while he was very quiet. "I shouldn't have left," he murmured. "I should have waited." Just then he heard a soft rumble, not thunder, not wind, but footsteps. Big, slow, kind footsteps. And out of the mist came a large, gentle creature, white as the snow that covered the mountains and silent as a dream. A polar bear. She had a coat that shimmered like frost and eyes that glowed with the warmth of sunrise. "Oh," Ollie said, his eyes wide. "Hello." The polar bear gave a slow nod. "You look a little lost, little owl." "I was flying for the first time," Ollie said, his voice small. "But the mist came in, and now I can't find my way back home." The bear sat on her haunches beside the birch tree. The forest can be confusing in the fog, but don't worry, I know these woods like the back of my paw. Ollie tilted his head. "Really?" She nodded. "I've wandered them many nights. Would you like me to help you find your tree?" Ollie's wings fluttered gently. "Yes, please." The bear stood again, tall and strong, her paws patting softly over the moss. "Hop on my back," she said with a smile. And so Ollie climbed carefully onto her soft fur. It was warm and smelled like pine needles and snowflakes. Together, they walked through the mist. They passed glowing mushrooms that hummed lullabies and sleeping deer tucked into fern beds. They crossed a quiet stream that reflected the moonlight, even through the fog. Ollie rested his head against her neck. "How do you know where to go?" he asked. The bear smiled without turning. "I listen. To the wind, to the trees. They whisper their secrets when it's quiet enough." Ollie listened too, and slowly, softly, he began to hear it. The faint rustling of leaves, the familiar creak of an old oak branch. He lifted his head. "That's it! That's my tree!" The bear stopped and looked up through the mist. There, reaching high above the other trees, was Ollie's home. The wind swirled gently around it, and a soft hoot echoed from the branches. "Mama Owl." Ollie fluttered off the bear's back and landed on the branch beside his mother. She pulled him into her feathers with a quiet coo. "You made it back," she said softly. "I had help," Ollie replied, looking down at the bear. The bear nodded once, then turned to go. "Wait," Ollie called. "Will I see you again?" The bear glanced back with a twinkle in her eye. "Whenever you need help in the quiet, I'll be near." And with that, she vanished into the mist, her white fur blending with the fog until she was gone. Ollie nestled beside his mama, his feathers warm and his heart calm. "You were so brave," Mama Owl whispered. "I was scared," Ollie admitted. "That's what makes it brave," she said gently. "You did it anyway." Ollie yawned a big, sleepy yawn. The mist was lifting now. The stars were peeking through the clouds once more, twinkling like tiny lanterns in the sky. The wind was soft again, and the oak tree creaked its lullaby. Ollie closed his eyes, safe in the nest, his wings tucked under him. "I flew?" he whispered to the stars. "Yes," they seemed to whisper back, "and you'll fly again." And as the forest settled and the moon floated high, Ollie drifted off into the gentlest sleep he'd ever known, a sleep full of snowy paths, glowing trees, and soft polar paws walking beside him in dreams. The end. Would you like this story divided into illustrated scenes or narrated